Recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If there is someone who has seen the horrors of socialism up close within the Democratic Party, is in the House, and it's the Honorable Congresswoman Maxine Waters. And I would love for you to support this resolution specifically, because, Madam Waters, for decades you traveled to Cuba dozens of times to visit Fidel Castro personally, whom you consider your friend. Congresswoman Waters was in Havana, and she saw the destruction of biblical proportions that Castro caused on that island, who at the time in 1960 had the highest per capita income in the Western Hemisphere. At that time, Madam Waters knew that thousands and thousands of Cubans were escaping on a raft, exposing their lives and their children to be eaten by the sharks. She knew that Afro-Cubans were being beaten on the streets of Havana, discriminated against by Fidel Castro, Mr. Speaker. And for that reason, I am bringing up all these facts, because Madam Waters knew that the Cuban jails were full of political prisoners, and the Cubans did not have the same privileges that we are having right now to speak freely. At that time, Madam Waters never raised her voice to denounce the horrors of socialism, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, I am asking Madam Waters.
For what purpose the lady from California seeks recognition?
I move to take her words down.
Order. The House will be in order. The lady from California, for what purpose do you rise?
I rise to take down her words.
Personal attack.
Lady from Florida, please be seated.
Clerk will report the words.
I'd ask the clerk to please report the words.
Honey, it's nothing but chaos in the House of Representatives. If you notice, the Senate is more professional run. It's always chaos in the House of Representatives. Strike down words, reprieve my time. Oh, it's just too much. Wasting time.
The lady from Florida is recognized.
All right, so I'm asking for unanimous consent to withdraw the violations of the rules and continue with my speech, which is that if there are many people on this floor that have seen.
Without objection, the words are withdrawn.
Objection is heard.
Objection is heard.
Objection is withdrawn.
The objection is withdrawn. The gentlelady from Florida, her request is accepted with unanimous consent. The gentlelady from Florida is recognized. The gentleman from Arkansas.
The House is not in order.
The gentleman is correct. The House is not in order. With any luck, we'll get back to business. Please take your conversations off the floor of the House. The gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
There are many people on this floor who have seen the horrors of communism. They have been to Cuba. They have been friends with Fidel Castro. They have seen the jails full of Cuban prisoners. They have seen people preparing rafts to die in the middle of the ocean, eaten by sharks. There are many people in the Democratic Party who have witnessed that and have not said anything. So for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I am asking some of my colleagues on that side of the aisle, many of them who are very good friends of mine, to understand that denouncing communism and socialism is the right thing to do for the Democratic Party. And if some of the highest, most important members of the Democratic Party on that side of the aisle were to vote with us, they would be doing a very favor to the Republic, and not only that, to the Democratic Party. They will become the new champions, and the Democratic Party will be now the champion for freedom in the Western Hemisphere. I yield back.
Lady from Florida yields. The gentleman from Arkansas
I reserve.
reserves. Chair recognizes the lady from California.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Ms. Salazar for withdrawing her words, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The lady from California reserves a balance of her time. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm prepared to close if the gentleman from California is.
Lady from California.
I am prepared to close, Mr. Speaker. Let's get on with this discussion about socialism. Mr. Speaker, instead of legislating and doing the work to tackle real problems that Americans face, like the skyrocketing cost of groceries, rising rents and mortgage payments, and the absolute...
Ladies and gentlemen, the House is not in order. Please take your conversations off the floor of the House. The lady from California is recognized.
Thank you so very much. Americans again face the skyrocketing cost of groceries, rising rents and mortgage payments, and the Republicans have always opposed Medicaid and Medicare, and they've been undermining it since day one. And they do not want to fix the catastrophic economic policies of this administration. And I want you to know that this administration is responsible for the situation that we find ourselves in with this failing economy. The Trump administration must take the credit for what is happening with the loss of food for our children for a limited period of time before we fought to get it back.
Lady's time has expired.
Vote no. Vote no. Vote no.
I vote no. I haven't finished, but I'll vote no. I want you to vote no because this is absolutely unnecessary.
The lady from California.
Here are my 2 cents, right? Because, that Maria Salazar was accusing Maxine Waters of being a socialist. She went to Cuba. She met with Fidel Castro. She called him his friend. Fidel Castro still had political prisoners, and people were, escaping Cuba on rafts to come to the United States. And yes, the United States allowed a lot of Cubans to come here to start over. But here's the thing about that, because I understand the sentiments that Black Americans have with Cuba and Fidel Castro, because the people that was banished from Cuba and had their land taken from them, they were the white Cubans. Whereas the darker Cubans, the Afro-Cubans, were treated as second and third class citizens of Cuba. It was a lot of racism and a lot of segregation policies in Cuba. And when Fidel came into power, he did turn it into a socialist country, but he made everything equal for everybody. And he took the land and businesses away from these wealthy white Cubans. And they all came to Miami. They got all types of economic uplift for our federal and state government. So, it's like, I get it. You don't like Fidel. A lot of people don't. His government and his policies were not perfect. But when you look at the mistreatment of Afro-Cubans, even to this day, Black Americans are going to sympathize and have empathy for that and champion, and be supportive of them. And speaking of political prisoners, because this is not a socialist country here. I don't want it to be a socialist country. I'm not a socialist. But we do the same things as socialist leaders that you call dictators do. Because how many Black Panther Party members are still in prison to this day from the 70s? Over a dozen. They're never coming home. A lot of them died in prison. We have a lot of political prisoners here. So it's funny how, and this is why, listen, this is why I say that Congress, these politicians, they're all liars. They're all hypocrites. Stop believing everything they say, because it's what do you call it? It's the pot calling the kettle black. We have hundreds of political prisoners here that should have had a fair trial or been released, and they have not. A lot of things Fidel Castro has done in Cuba, the American government has done here. But Black Americans are always going to be in solidarity with the Afro-Cubans. History tells us that. That Congresswoman Maria someone, she is of the white Cuban lineage. I have another clip on that House floor that I wanted to show.
On the House floor on November 21st, Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis and Congresswoman Waters went toe-to-toe in a heated exchange over socialism, what it is and whether the United States is drifting towards it. Watch their fiery debate right here.
Millions of immigrants in this country fled their homeland to come to the United States to escape socialism and communism. Just ask your constituents from Russia, from Poland, from Albania, from China, from Korea, from Vietnam, from Venezuela, or Cuba, where my mother fled in 1959 to escape the very things that our new socialist mayor in New York City says he wants. A socialist who says he wants to seize the means of production. He wants to abolish private property rights. He wants government-run supermarkets. Yes, he says he's a socialist. But guess what, my friends? Those are policies straight out of the communist playbook of Karl Marx. So there is no difference between socialism and communism. And where these policies were tried, yes, they failed.
Let me just say that the young lady talked about working hard, and socialism, robs families of what they've worked hard for and what they've earned. Well, I want to ask you, what is this administration doing when it takes 10% equity stake in Intel, 15% equity stake in MP Materials, and 10% equity stake in Lithium Americas, 10% equity stake in Triology Metals, and a, quote, golden share in U.S. Steel Corporation? What is that? Now, the Republicans have tried to confuse you on what is socialism and even called it communism light. That is an absolute distraction from what we're discussing here today. Communism is communism, socialism is socialism, and a government run by someone who is not taking into consideration the facts and the harm and the threat that they're doing to education, the attempt to take over law firms, the attempt to tell some of the finest universities in this country what they can teach and what they cannot teach, and I repeat, giving away our money to a country, $40 billion at a time when that money is so desperately needed in this government.
So I hear Maxine Waters. She made some valid points, but guess what? Maxine Waters, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Democrats do it too. You guys are both the problem. You practice the same hypocrisy. You sent billions of dollars to Ukraine when Biden was in office. You actually spent billions of dollars on illegals when you allowed the borders to be open. Food was high under Biden. Inflation was high. Gas was high. Everything you accusing the Trump administration of doing in the last 10 months, Biden was doing in the last 4 years. And you're right. Socialism is socialism, communism, communism, capitalism is capitalism. This is a capitalist country, free market. But you guys in Congress, you favor corporations over human beings. Why? Because in the Constitution, corporations are considered a person, and corporations fund your campaign, and they know how to funnel more money through shell companies, or they fund the DNC or the RNC. Both parties do it. So this is what I'm saying. The Congress is ghetto. Somebody put a comment, Congress is ghetto. They are. They don't get any work done. They just argue, accuse each other of doing this, of doing that. Nothing gets done. They want to claim like they're working so hard for the American people. They're not. And majority of Americans fall for the BS. Every single time.
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.